Iran's regime is not merely a Jewish problem, any more than the Nazi regime was merely a Jewish problem. The 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis were but a fraction of the 60 million people killed in World War II. So too, Iran's regime poses a grave threat not only to Israel, but also to the peace of the entire world.
All right, folks, joining us now, Ambassador Ido Aharoni, Consul General of Israel in New York City and 20-year veteran of Israel's foreign service. Mr. Ambassador, always an honor to speak to you, sir. I know you're on a train, so hopefully we won't lose contact here. What was your impression of your Prime Minister today?
Well, you know, I'm on the train with my colleagues here. We're on our way back from Washington, D.C. to New York. We were there with our Prime Minister, of course, very proud, like every Israeli, like every person that truly cares about the future of humanity. What the Prime Minister did in Congress today and yesterday when he addressed the policy conference of AIPAC is simply to point to the dangers posed to humanity by Iran's aspiration to become a nuclear nation.
You know, he said, and the White House has said that there's been nothing new. He said, give us an agreement that we can live with, literally. And I think adding the literally really drove home the point and was a nice compliment to what he said yesterday at AIPAC, that the United States is a big country, Israel's small, the U.S. cares about its security and is concerned, but Israel is on a daily basis concerned about its survival.
It's true, and I'm sure you noticed that he devoted the first few sentences of his speech to highlight the enormous contribution made to the ties between Israel and the United States by this current administration, praising the support of the president directly, and I think that he was very clear about the bipartisan nature of the desire to prevent Iran from becoming nuclear.
I mean, the response that he got was tremendous, I thought, from Democrats and Republicans alike, although Nancy Pelosi tweeted out afterward that she was near tears during the whole speech because of the insults that Benjamin Netanyahu was heaping upon the United States. I didn't hear any insults.
Well, again, I think that what you heard from the Prime Minister of the State of Israel is something that is of concern to many leaders, by the way, especially in the Arab world. And he reiterated a message that he's been reiterating for quite some time. No deal is better than a bad deal. And what he asked for is for the world to consider the ramifications of nuclear Iran. We simply do not have the luxury of allowing Iran to become a nuclear nation.
And I think it's very important also, I was struck by this, when he talked about how Iran wants to help us fight ISIS, but he said, let me say this, in this case, the enemy of your enemy is your enemy. And then he went on to point out all the things Iran has done to Americans and America and is doing to Americans and America. I thought that was brilliant.
Well, that's correct, and I think that philosophically and all along Israel's position was that the most dangerous weapon in the Iranian toolbox is their ideology. So today we're talking about nuclear weapons. Tomorrow we may be talking about biological weapons, biological warfare or chemical warfare. It's the motivation, it's the ideology that is the problem. And this regime is the largest producer of state-sponsored terrorism in the world. Iran is not leading the world in the scientific papers production business. God forbid, they're not leading the world in, agriculture. They're leading the world in one thing and one thing only, and that is state-sponsored terrorism. And so
well, we may have lost the ambassador. Mr. Ambassador? All right, let's try to get him real quick back for a final word. If not, I think we got the bulk of the interview in, and considering he's on the train with the Israeli delegation coming back from, not the Prime Minister, I don't think he's on a train, coming back from Washington, D.C., where he was in the chamber to see the speech by the Prime Minister, back to New York. I think, look, I think that history will judge this speech to be, in the vein of, I think we have not quite the opposite of Neville Chamberlain. I think we have a new Winston Churchill here. And is he back? Yeah, no? Okay, sorry. And we know how Barack Obama felt about and feels about Winston Churchill. We know the reports about what he did the first day he got in. The bust of Winston Churchill got shipped out. So you know what he thinks about Benjamin Netanyahu. It's along those same lines. If only he could ship him out somewhere. But I think the speech was right on. And I now know, just as I suspected, why this administration did not want this Prime Minister to come to speak before Congress. Because he put Obama to shame with line after line and fact after fact and revelation after revelation and analysis after analysis. We're coming back. Rafi Williams of the RNC is next.